Yo, what's going on, miners? Today we're going to be checking out proof of useful work, so let's get right into it.
As a crypto miner, you know you want your equipment to be high quality. Proper cable management is part of your mining rig, and the Veteran Miner has you covered. The Veteran Miner cables are created with the best materials to ensure they are of the highest quality. Our cables are made of 16-gauge tin copper, ensuring another layer of protection from oxidation and corrosion. We support our products with a 100% guarantee. Visit our website at www.theveteranminer.com and get the best cables for your mining setup.
All right, guys, so I got one of these proof of useful rigs out from my garage. I've took out quite a few of the components here, and we have some stuff that came in here that shipped in. We have an 825 watt power supply. We have our 2680 V3 Xeon. We have a 1 terabyte SSD. We have our ISO for Ubuntu. Got one 16 gigabyte stick of RAM. I have more, but we're going to start testing at this right here, one 16 gig kit. We have some thermal paste, some isopropyl alcohol, and our Q-tips, because we're going to start tearing some stuff apart. We're going to start getting into this. We're going to add our upgrades. So let's do this. So now we got the CPU changed out, cooler back on with thermal paste. Let's go ahead. Super simple, everybody should know how to do this. We already got one DIMM slot open down here, and we're just gonna shove it in right here. Wait for those nice little snaps. We have a SATA SSD, this is a 1 terabyte silicon power. So we're going to go ahead and hook her up. And I'm just gonna leave, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna leave it right down in the, I'm just gonna leave the hard drive right here in the tray for right now. This is all just for testing. I never try to button anything up before I put it inside the, of the cage here, because I could mount it to the cage. So I try to run everything loose beforehand just to make sure that everything is going to operate and function correctly. Now the CPU we did get out of this isn't useless. It's a E5-1607 V3, which is 4 cores and 8 threads. So this is still usable. So I just think having some more cores would be beneficial, as typically Xeon cores are not very strong cores. They're not very fast. So yeah, I might resell these, maybe repurpose them. Don't know quite yet, so stay tuned for that. Now all we gotta do is put in our big power supply here, which is pretty nice because it just slots into the back of the case right here. It's just a hot swappable power supply. And there you go. She's in. That's it. So I did just leave the card it came with in here, just because I need to verify that these pinouts from here aren't going to damage the consumer cards. I don't think it will, but you never know. So I'm going to test the continuity there. So all right, now all we need to do is put this thing in, boot from this, put our, and this has a Ubuntu on it, So Ubuntu server. So that's going to be one of the things I'm going to be testing, and get that onto the hard drive, and then yeah, let's see if this thing will boot. Let me get the monitor in here. Let's drag the monitor and everything in, and let's see if she'll boot up. Let's see if all these modifications worked, or am I going to run into a few errors. You never quite know with some of these things because Dell is proprietary, so there could be some limitations. All right, we hit the boot button here. It's probably going to boot cycle a few times before we get a picture. So let's just go ahead and hang tight and see what happens. So far we're not getting any yellow amber light errors. So if you're getting yellow amber errors here on your power button, then it's usually something wrong. But it does look like we have a boot screen here. So that is it's a good sign. So let's go ahead and let's set up the utility here, because I want to boot from the USB. And there we go. Now let's go ahead and let's check, and let's see if this is picking up if this is actually picking up our cores right here, right? Let's go back to our general tab here. Okay, so we are picking up our 16 gigs of RAM right here, which is good. So also it does detect our CPU down here as well, which is an E5 2680V3. So core count is 12, so that is accurate. So far everything's looking great. The 825 power supply is working, no smoke. So we changed the boot sequence. This way we can boot from our USB. We're gonna hit enter, apply, and then we're going to exit again. So let's go ahead and let's see if we can't get into Ubuntu. There we go, the light on the USB is up. Let's go ahead, let's install the Ubuntu server. So you don't have to have the internet plugged into for this, but it will allow you to run updates if you want the security updates, but you don't need to do that. You can always do a sudo apt update and a sudo apt upgrade. Those are some basic commands for Linux. So all right guys, we're going to be checking this out in a minute, and we're going to see if it actually booted up, and we're going to see if it's actually functional, it's installing and all that stuff. So let's go over some of the parts I used. I used an E5 2680V3, which is a 12-core 24-thread CPU that I picked up from eBay for $9.80. If you bought more than, I think, 3, you can get them for $7.50. So extremely cheap, very inexpensive. The power supply, the 825 watt power supply I switched out, is going to be, that's going to be a very big swing, and you're going to need to shop around. It's anywhere from $50 to like $110 depending upon the supplier and person you're buying it from, right? So the next thing that you're going to need to do is RAM. Now I had 16 gigs of RAM that already came with these systems, so I just repurposed it. If you have to buy another 16 gigs of RAM, it's probably going to run you probably like 20 or 30 bucks if you have to buy it. Then I got a 1 terabyte SSD that I got for like $34.99. So that part was pretty inexpensive, right? I'm in it maybe $100 all in right now. Currently at the current setup, I'm in $100. I don't even think that. I think I'm right around like $94. So that being said, I'm into this proof of useful work rig less than $200. You can't even buy a 5900X, which is a 12-core 24-thread CPU, for $200, right? So this is a good route to go. You do have to do a little bit of work if you want to save some money. You do have to scour and find some of these deals, but I think it's going to be worth it for you guys. All right, and as we can see, I am updating it right now. I did the sudo apt upgrade, so it's getting all of the packages and dependencies it needs to get. It's probably going to take a little bit here. It's got a lot of stuff to go through, so it is working, guys. Thank you so much. Well guys, this is just the first step in getting the, my testing ready for this. I'm also going to be flashing another hard drive, so this way we could do Windows as well. I want to see if there's going to be difference in Windows and Ubuntu. for the server and stuff like that. I want to see if there's going to be some benchmark performance, because we all know, because this will run a lot less resources in the background, right? So maybe it'll give us more performance for the same amount of, you know, parts we're using. So anyways, guys, this is the Mining Key giving you the most hashes, and I'll see you next time.